Welcome to Buddhist Motivation, where we dive into deep insights to inspire and awaken the wisdom within. Today, we explore a profound topic: how facing your dark side makes you a stronger, kinder person. This is not just about kindness in a traditional sense. It's about understanding the deeper layers of who we are, and how embracing our hidden fears, anger, and limitations can lead to a more balanced and true form of kindness. Before we get into today's story and the lessons it holds, I'd love to hear from you. If you find value in this message, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Your feedback and thoughts mean a lot to me, so leave a comment below. Your engagement motivates me to create more videos that can help you and others on their own paths of personal growth and spiritual awakening. As we journey into this story, consider this: true kindness isn't about denying the parts of us we don't like, it's about integrating them into who we are. This understanding, rooted in both psychological and Buddhist wisdom, helps us grow into more authentic, compassionate people. So let's dive in and reflect on how we can become stronger and kinder by facing the parts of ourselves we often avoid. Section 1: Introduction to Kindness and Misconceptions. In our daily lives, we are often taught that kindness is the highest virtue a person can possess. We imagine someone who is always ready to help others, never saying no when someone asks for help, always leaving a smile and warmth behind. But does this kind of kindness really bring peace to the giver? Or is it just an external image we pursue without fully understanding its true value? Let's consider the story of a man named James, who is seen by others as the perfect example of kindness. James is the type of person who always helps his friends, colleagues, and anyone in need. He never turns anyone away, whether the request is small or large, whether it's work-related or personal. He is often busy, sometimes with little time left for himself. But in the eyes of others, James is a kind-hearted, selfless man. However, over time, James begins to feel overlooked. The people he helps never come back to help him when he needs it. He starts to feel lonely and exhausted, even though there are many people around him. He has sacrificed so much for others, yet receives nothing in return. James realizes that the selfless kindness he once believed was the key to a meaningful life has slowly become a burden, leaving him feeling empty and worn out. Buddhism reminds us that true kindness is not about self-sacrifice without boundaries. Compassion in Buddhism is about caring for others, but it is not about giving up oneself entirely. To genuinely love others, we must first learn to love and care for ourselves. We must understand when to help and when to rest, and protect our mental well-being. Without doing so, kindness becomes a futile struggle, offering no true peace either to the giver or the receiver. Section 2: Jung and the Shadow, the Hidden Parts of Every Person. Carl Jung, a renowned psychologist, introduced the concept of the shadow, which refers to the parts of ourselves that we often refuse to acknowledge or confront, such as anger, greed, envy, or desires we deem unacceptable. Jung believed that when we avoid these parts of ourselves, they become a shadow, a dark and unrecognized part of our psyche. James serves as a perfect example of someone who avoids their own shadow. Whenever he feels angry, he suppresses it, convincing himself that a truly kind person should never be angry. Whenever he feels exhausted, he pushes those feelings aside, telling himself, "I don't need anything, I'm here to help others." But it is precisely this suppression that creates a shadow, a quiet, unacknowledged pain that he doesn't realize is slowly building up within him. Buddhism teaches us the practice of mindfulness, which involves observing our thoughts and feelings without judgment. Mindfulness does not mean eliminating negative emotions but accepting them fully, without running from them. We cannot become whole if we avoid the parts of ourselves that are not perfect. The shadow Jung speaks of is not inherently evil, it is a crucial part of our personal growth and self-awareness. Section 3. The integration of Jung and Buddhism. Embracing the darkness to become whole. When we begin to confront our shadow, we truly start to understand ourselves. Kindness is no longer blind, but a conscious decision made with awareness of our needs and limitations. The story of James continues. As James starts to confront his exhaustion and anger, he acknowledges that it is okay to feel these things. He learns that it is not selfish to have boundaries, to take care of himself, and to sometimes say no. James begins to see that his kindness is not about pleasing everyone but about knowing when he is genuinely able to offer help without depleting himself. In doing so, he starts living a life of balance, a life in which he can love and give from a place of abundance, not from an empty well. In Buddhism, letting go is not about giving up, it's about accepting and realizing that not every moment is about helping others. To do this, we must have deep awareness of ourselves. We are not mere instruments to serve others. We are human beings with feelings, needs, and desires that are just as important as anyone else's. This process of integration is challenging, and it requires immense courage and honesty. But as we learn to embrace our darkness, we begin to live authentically. The more James faces his shadow, the more he can give in a way that is true to himself, generous, but not at the expense of his own well-being. Section 4. True kindness, the harmony between compassion and mindfulness. True kindness is not about giving endlessly without thought, but knowing when to give and when to keep something for ourselves. As James starts to understand that kindness must be coupled with mindfulness, he no longer feels exhausted or exploited. He begins to help from a place of fullness, from a heart that is both loving and self-aware. Buddhism not only teaches us about compassion, but also emphasizes the importance of self-care. We cannot love others if we don't first love ourselves. When we can care for ourselves and set necessary boundaries, we are in a better position to help others without losing our own worth. Compassion in Buddhism is unconditional love, but it does not mean self-neglect. It is about sharing from a place of fullness, not emptiness. James discovers that true kindness is about giving from a place of clarity and strength. When he can balance his own needs with his desire to help, his actions become more powerful and meaningful. He no longer gives because he feels he must. He gives because he chooses to. This is the wisdom that emerges from embracing both light and shadow. Section 5. The lesson and action. What does it take to become truly good? The key lesson from both Jung and Buddhism is that we cannot be truly kind unless we understand and accept all parts of ourselves. True kindness is not about self-sacrifice. It is about self-awareness and self-acceptance. Like a Buddhist monk once said, if you wish to help others, you must first save yourself. The lesson from James' story is that we cannot become truly good if we don't learn to confront and integrate the parts of ourselves that we deem undesirable. When we acknowledge our shadow, we can begin to love others more deeply and genuinely. True kindness is not about perfection, it's about being authentic, embracing both our light and our darkness. This journey is not easy, but it is essential. Buddhism teaches us that to achieve enlightenment, we must face and accept all aspects of ourselves, not just the bright and good parts but also the dark and uncomfortable ones. Only then can we truly live fully and bring peace and love to others. The practice of integrating the shadow is a lifelong journey. Every day offers new opportunities to choose authenticity over people-pleasing, conscious power over weakness disguised as virtue, and true kindness over automatic self-sacrifice. We need people who have integrated both their light and shadow, people who can embody both strength and compassion. James' transformation shows us that when we accept all parts of ourselves, our light and our darkness, we become more complete. We are no longer driven by fear, but by the freedom to be whole. This is the essence of true kindness. It comes from a place of power, balance, and love, not from a need to be seen as perfect. Thank you for joining me on this journey of transformation. As we explored today, true kindness isn't about blind self-sacrifice. It's about accepting our full selves, both light and dark. By embracing the parts of us we tend to hide, we unlock a deeper, more powerful compassion for others and for ourselves. If you found this message helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to Buddhist Motivation. Your support encourages me to keep bringing you meaningful content that can help us all grow on our spiritual and personal journeys. And, as always, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective on how facing your dark side has helped you become a more complete person. I look forward to having you join me in the next video. Until then, remember, the journey to becoming truly kind begins with the courage to face the shadow within. Stay mindful, stay compassionate, and see you